Hello everyone, welcome. Thank you for joining our webinar this evening. I'm Wendy Kolanovich. I'm the Marketing Director of IUHS, and I have the pleasure of letting you all know more about our MD program. I'm joined by two current students and also an alumnus of IUHS. So we have Dr. Brian Sage joining us from the US. He graduated back in 2014. And we have April and Justin. Brian, could you join us and turn on your camera and tell us a little bit about yourself? Hello.
It may be on mute.
Hello?
Hello. Oh, there you are, Dr. Sage. Thank you for joining us. We can see you and we can hear you now.
Yeah, but I can't hear you.
You can't hear me.
No, I'll hold it up here. I can hear you when I do this.
Okay. We're just welcoming you to the webinar, and we'd just like you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit more about yourself and where you're working and where you're practicing.
Yeah, it's weird because I can't really hear you guys. Yeah, my name is Brian Sage. I'm family medicine trained. I did my residency at Stanford Hospital in Stamford, Connecticut. I graduated from IUHS in 2014, and I'm currently doing primary care sports medicine for a large orthopedic group in Fairfield, Connecticut.
Thank you. Thanks for that. And April, can you share with us where you're at in the MD program?
Yes, I am a Block 3 student. I am currently a nurse. I started in Block 0 last year in September, and I'm moving forward.
Wonderful, thanks. And we have Justin here, who is, if you can show us turn on your camera and let us know a bit about where you're in the program too. You there, Justin?
There we go. Sorry about that. So my name is Justin. I am currently in the clinical rotation phase. I am about 3 rotations away from graduating.
Amazing. And we'll hear a lot more about that and where April and Justin are in the program as we go through the information today. So we might just get into it, and we might have some questions at the end as well. So a little bit about IUHS. We're located on the island of St. Kitts in the Caribbean. We do have a study centre there that you can attend if you wish. However, there is no requirement to travel to the island. IUHS is actually a non-traditional medical school, meaning that we're not a traditional bricks and mortar school that you have to attend a campus in person every day. For this reason, IUHS is more affordable and also more accessible. So if you're living in a remote location, this could be a lot more convenient for you, not having to travel to a campus. And also the convenience of being able to take your university with you when you are traveling, though, but we'll get into that a bit later on. How does that all work? Well, basically, our students study online, accessing an array of learning technologies to deliver this content. And they also attend live classes, live virtual classes. Concurrently, they also participate in a mentorship program while they're doing the preclinical part of the program. Following that, then students are entering into the clinical phase where Justin's at, learning in teaching hospitals. So important to note, is that IUHS has been delivering medical education in the hybrid model of education, meaning in person and online, for over 25 years. So we're very experienced in delivering this method well before COVID and everyone else started teaching in an online method. So as I said, we're a global university, and we have staff in the US, Canada, Australia, Europe, and St. Kitts. And we've primarily got students from the US, Canada, Australia, and St. Kitts. So it's a very dynamic and interesting place to study and meet people and gain lots of different experiences and as you go along through the program. Now, important to the field of medicine is to know that the university that you are attending is appropriately accredited in the World Directory of Medical Schools, which IUHS is. Just also, I mentioned briefly that we do have a study centre on the island of St. Kitts. We have a couple of photos there of some of our staff and our facility there. As we said, we can do some limited clinical rotations for you there as well. So we have everything set up for you to study. And as we said, do a few rotations if you like, but there is no requirement to study there. Now, one of the top reasons to choose IUHS over a traditional medical school is the flexibility that IUHS offers. Particularly if you're a career changer, someone entering the MD program, maybe as a mature student, if you have to work or have some other commitments, we are always, as staff of the university and just as our mission is to support you and to work with you to see you achieve your goal of becoming a doctor while juggling all of those other responsibilities that you may have. So one of the other main reasons that students choose us is the excellent quality of our teaching staff. So we have all sorts of people, like from Kaplan lecturers, authors, people with decades of research experience. So you're exposed to a very high caliber of teaching staff. But I think the best people that could tell us what was their reasoning for choosing IUHS are our students. So maybe, Justin, you could answer for us, why did you actually choose IUHS?
Yeah, so just to kind of piggyback on what you just said, I was a student that did not do my research, and I chose a school that was not appropriate. Spent a lot of time and money at that school, later to find out that I was going to have hardships moving forward. So I transferred into IUHS right before COVID. One of the biggest things that I have enjoyed was the flexibility and the fact that IUHS really gears around the individual student and allows that flexibility. I was a practicing critical care paramedic, life flight medic before I went into IUHS, and so it allowed me to hone in both my previous experience as well as prepared me for the future.
Yeah, amazing. And that's thanks for confirming that that flexibility of being able to juggle things as your other commitments. And April, you joined us most recently, being still at Block 3. So why did you choose IUHS?
Well, for me, the deal breaker or deal maker was to be able to find flexibility as well. But also, I was working as a nurse, and I found that I wanted more autonomy and a greater capacity to make decisions in medicine. I don't know how many people are in allied health, but it can be very challenging when you want to do more, but you don't have enough background to make those types of decisions. And then after starting the program, I found that everything that I was looking for was here. Professors were visible and available during regular lecture hours, after hours. Sometimes it's a matter of coming to class early or maybe staying after class, showing up a few minutes earlier, requesting a time. We definitely have access. The professors are visible. So that was pretty much what I was looking for when I did my research.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. IUHS is a small university. We don't have a huge student body in and able to deliver that personalized approach in having those smaller numbers, and that accessibility that you mentioned is incredibly important to us to be able to guide everyone to their specific goal. And with the smaller numbers, as you said, every teacher, even the dean, is available for you to access with questions. As you said, even on weekends, we're always there. So, Brian, I'll get you to answer the same question for me, please. Why did you choose IUHS? Because this was a little while ago, so I'm sorry you have to cast your mind back. But
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason for IUHS was, I mean, at the time, I don't think there was anything comparable to it. I don't know if there's anything comparable now. But I was a physician assistant. I've been working for probably about 10 years and didn't really have intentions of going back to school. I already had 2 graduate degrees and I had a career. I wasn't looking to move anywhere, go anywhere. But I mean, I like the idea of becoming an MD. And there was an opportunity where I could do it online. I could continue working and potentially not accrue a lot more debt. And I just kind of took the plunge, and I was able to continue working. So for the first 18 months of the program, I worked basically 3 days a week. So about 24, 25 hours, a week, and was able to fit in the classes. A lot of them were recorded on the side. And like I said, for about 18 months, I did that. And then after 18 months, I went full in, knowing once that you get to the clinicals that there's really no opportunity to continue working. So a couple months before clinicals started, I did leave my job and just focus on the boards. But I guess to summarize it, why IUHS? Again, I don't think there were any other. It just offered a good opportunity to continue to work and potentially pursue an MD degree.
yeah, I think that's a good point, because we do have a lot of students that are either do a part-time job, as you did, to manage life, but also you touched on a good point there, without the debt accrual. So we'll see later on when we talk about finances, that we are really truly one of the most affordable medical schools that you'll come across, and that's part of our mission as a university to deliver affordable education, and that we're more invested in technology rather than physical campuses allows us to do that for you. And as Brian said, when you don't want to move and you want to stay where you are, well, then we bring the learning and the university to you. So and that's really great, because I remember sometime when we were chatting, Brian, you did mention that you had even managed to juggle becoming a father during your studies, and you had a lot going on. How did that look like, studying and parenting?
Yeah, I was fortunate that the major studying portion of it was done by the time I started having children, in the sense that I had my first son after I had taken step 1 and step 2. So I had him while I was doing clinicals. And to me, having kids with clinicals isn't that big of a deal, because it's just like any other job. I mean, you might be there, a lot of hours, whether it's residency, whether it's your regular job, or whether you're doing clinicals, it's a lot of hours, but it's a job. If I'd had kids while studying for the boards, that would have been difficult for me personally. I just get pretty wrapped up in them. And it just worked out that way. I mean, you can't really control when you have kids, but fortunately, I had finished step 1 and step 2. So, in that respect, it was kind of easy. The tough part of it, I think the toughest part is just buckling down and studying. I think that's a lot more difficult than doing a job. So, it all worked out.
That's a good point. So there's quite a difference there for those who don't know what to expect in between the preclinical phase and studying for boards after that, and then the clinical phase, where you are actually like you're taking on a full-time role. I guess it's that many hours. It's like a full-time job. So that it's good to understand that that's quite a difference in the schedule. Well, let's discuss the actual program for a minute here and get into it. So we've listed up here the requirements for direct entry into the MD program. But if you do not fulfill all of these requirements, there's no need to worry. We do offer a pre-med program or a Bachelor's of Science / MD program, which will give you all those foundation sciences that you need for entry into the MD program. So we'll get into that a little bit later on as well on another slide. But just for you to see, these are the requirements for direct entry. So if you have an undergrad degree, these are the subjects you needed to have studied. But again, if you don't have all of these, you'll get a custom study plan where we will be able to offer you those subjects that you might be missing to prepare you for the beginning of the program. And this is what it actually looks like. So these are the preclinical years. This is where you're learning online predominantly, and in that mentorship program as well that I mentioned before. So you'll visit with a local physician mentor, and you'll talk about cases and things like that. About 20 hours, I think it is, a month. And then that sort of consolidates all of your classroom learning into a clinical setting. And you'll see how we've listed here all the different subjects and of how you study. And then you'll see at the end, blocks 9 and 10 is where you review all of that learning that you had done up until that time. You'll review and prepare for your board exams. For those of you in the US, that's when you're preparing for step 1. Between each of these blocks of study, you'll have 2 to 3 weeks on average break just to reset, recharge, and recover before the next one starts. There is an exam at the end of each of these blocks as well. But I think the best person is going to describe this to us is April, because she's actually in these blocks. So could you just maybe describe what block 0 is about, because it says Introduction to Medicine. It is our longest block there. And I think I can imagine when you start, you're new to the university, you're new to our learning technologies, everything is new. So what does that look like? What do you do in block 0?
Sure. Block 0 is about 12 weeks. It's a little longer than the other weeks because you're becoming familiar with the ground rules, the setup. You may also be catching up with prerequisites. For me, I had everything except for physics. So I was able to complete physics. In block 0, you'll learn about the study center, which we'll probably mention a little later. It's the go-to resource center that you will access to do everything you need to do in the program. Also in block 0, you'll be given a heads up to secure a mentor whom you will shadow to learn different hands-on clinical tasks. And you don't worry about it because you will be emailed. I do them, but I believe that if you are a clinician, you can request a waiver. For example, if you're PA, NP, or RN, because these are hands-on practice skills that are required on those levels as well. But block 0 is a chance to also be familiar with DXR, which we will probably talk about a little bit later too, where you have a real simulated patient. And you will be evaluated not only on treatment, but on how efficiently you have delivered care. So in block 0, you can practice on your patient without being graded. You can practice over and over and be ready for block 1.
Fabulous. Yeah, so it really is a lot of preparation, a lot of orientations, and a lot of adjusting into and preparing for when you move into block 1, where we've got basically it's all systems based learning is how we've structured our curriculum. So maybe you could just tell us, Justin, what is the systems-based learning? You've been through all of it, so you can just sort of maybe go through how that ran.
Yeah, so system-based learning is a way that the school doesn't overload you, and they allow you to focus solely on a system. So integumentary, not vascular, sorry, dermatology, cardiovascular, they allow you to do it all in one thing. So you learn the pathology, you learn the anatomy, the pharmacology associated with that system. And then the hopes is that you continue to compound and build over the course of your studies to be able to master it all at one time instead of doing it all within the same block. So it was a great way for me to really, truly master my weakness, which was pharmacology. I wasn't thrown a million drugs at one time. I was only given the drugs for the particular system, for the particular diseases that I was studying in that system.
Excellent. That really makes sense. So all encompassing as you tackle one system at a time. April, we often say that we have a problem-based curriculum as well. Have you got some examples that you've encountered of how we are delivering a problem-based curriculum?
Yes, and what I can say is that it's conceptual. We have clinical questions all throughout our lectures and study center assignments and sessions that will be scheduled on the Google Calendar. You will have real world situations that will challenge your critical thinking skills. You will have open-ended questioning versus closed-ended questioning. And you will have an opportunity to apply what you've learned thus far to clinical cases. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, I think it's good to note there that you are always being challenged and that there are a lot of evaluations, self-evaluations throughout the program. So you're always testing your knowledge, looking for your weaknesses, and as Justin said, consolidating everything that you know. And if you know what your weakness is, then you can work on that through that sort of evaluation and problems and the cases that you're given to solve. So that's a great explanation of that. So once you've finished with the 2 years of the preclinical program. Now, this can also be extended to 3 years. You can nominate this to be studied over 3 years as well. If you have other commitments, just to let you know, that is an option. But once that's done, you will move into the clinical program. So the clinical program is comprised of 80 weeks of rotations. In the first instance, you have 48 weeks of core rotations, which are compulsory, and then you would move into the 32 weeks of electives, which are actually based on your experiences in the core rotations. You'll choose things that are of interest to you. Now, Justin, you are in this part of the program, so could you tell us what does a typical week look like for a student who's on clinical rotations?
Yeah, so it's really hard to judge, and I'm sure Brian can go behind me on this. Each rotation is a little different. It really just depends on your preceptor at that time and what their clinic hours are or what their rotations are looking like, but you need to prepare for at least 40 hours minimum. Right now I'm currently in surgery, so today is a surgery day. It's 3:30 my time. Surgery was at 5 o'clock. I'm still here now doing notes, and that's expected of me as the student. I finished pediatrics last rotation, and that was very easy. She only saw clinic patients 3 days a week, and then the other 2 days were off. So it allowed me a lot of ample time for self-study. But it really, you need to dedicate 40 hours a week to your clinical rotation.
Yeah, it
Anything
is.
less than that.
Yeah, expect it to be a full-time role is the expectation, because you're shadowing senior physicians.
Correct.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, well, I think that's a pretty good summary and good expectation to set. Now, for anyone who is looking to do rotations in the United States, this is where we actually have affiliations in these states. We do have rotations available in other countries, but this is just focusing on the US, because these locations you can actually do all of the rotations in one place. Justin, where are you completing your rotations at the moment?
So I'm in San Antonio, Texas.
And with that, could you tell us a little bit more about it? What's it like to learn in that clinical setting? Like, challenging? Is it rewarding? I mean, how would you describe it?
Yeah, so I mean, it's both challenging and rewarding. I'm in San Antonio, and if you're not really familiar where San Antonio is, it's in the desert, so it's extremely hot. It's probably 100 degrees right now, very humid. So outside of that, the population is very heavily enriched with Hispanics. I am not fluent in Spanish, so that provides a challenge for me that I'm having to learn to overcome. So it's making me learn that medicine's not just one way. I'm having to learn how to use an interpreter or a family member. Um, so it's definitely presented with its own set of challenges, for sure, to say the least. I'm also in a city that, our biggest hospital is the only level 1 trauma center for 118 miles around. So we get a lot of very sick patients that take a lot of time and a lot of work. So
you're exposed to a lot of different scenarios in being in a city like that.
mhm.
Wonderful for your experience. For you, I guess, as you said, you're coming towards the end of the rotations with not much left to complete, and the next steps would be to enter the next match, I guess, and complete a residency. What are your interests now that you've come so close to the end of rotations and you've seen a lot? Where do you see yourself?
Yes, I'm going to stay tried and true to my background of 19 years, and my plan is to stay in emergency medicine. And again, through clinical rotations and the relationships that I have built with preceptors and program directors, I've actually already been offered a sub-internship opportunity. And I plan on taking that opportunity to take 4 weeks to interview for that residency spot. And again, I think that a lot of that comes from IUHS's connections with rotation companies and kind of where we are in the world. So, I'm very grateful for that.
Oh, congratulations. That's amazing news. So that's a story that we hear quite a bit, that students are being offered, IUHS students being offered placements straight after their rotations, because I think the drive that you need to have to study in a non-traditional school gives you an advantage and an edge in the workplace, and it tends to show and shine, because we do get that comment. So congratulations, that's amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I did mention previously that, if you're not able to enter the MD program directly like April and Justin did, we can offer you the pre-med year, which is 1 year of foundation sciences that allow you entry into the MD program. So this is all the preparation that you need to do. These are all the modules that you would study to get you there. So, this is good for anyone with, even high school leavers can join us, as long as you are keen to become a doctor, then we can help you with that pathway. So often we're asked, where are graduates located? Definitely in the US, Canada, we have a lot of graduates. You see the list there, and it's always growing. So as I said, we are an international school, but our students are eligible to sit licensing exams in the US and in Canada. So important to note, I'll just following on from that, is graduates wanting to practice medicine in the US, though, is considered international medical graduates, because IUHS is located in St. Kitts. So ECFMG, which is what this slide is about, is in certification standard, ensuring that all physicians in the United States have satisfactory training. So medical schools that meet the ECFMG requirements are listed in the World Directory of Medical Schools, which IUHS is. And so what I've done for you here, so we don't talk about regulatory too much, is just listed some websites at the bottom of the slide there, so you can read a little bit more about that and understand what ECFMG is, what it means to you, and also you can read a little bit more about that on the IUHS website as well. But Brian, maybe you could shed some light on what it's like going through the STEP exams to enter the US healthcare system as an IMG, because I think some people get a little worried about it. Did you face challenges? Was it a fairly smooth process? How did things go?
Yeah, I mean, as far as the process, I guess the main challenge is just that, they're difficult tests that are very time consuming as far as trying to master the material. I think, the one thing that it was the one thing that I thought that could distinguish me, was doing well on those tests. And back then when I took them, you got a score for step 1 and for step 2 and step 3. Step 3 is kind of irrelevant. No one's ever going to see that score. But step 1, step 2, those scores are, I would always say they're kind of like the SATs for residency. So I took it very seriously, recognizing that, as an international student, the only thing that's going to distinguish you from the Americans was doing well on those tests. So a lot of pressure to do well on them, putting a lot of time. But, the tests themselves are they're really no different than any other tests once you get used to them. It's just but it's time consuming to master the material. I spent a couple months just doing nothing but step 1 preparation. And then that was really my ticket into being able to get my clinical rotations, because there was a hospital that was close to where I lived that would not accept you to to be a student there unless I don't remember whether you had to pass your step 1 or whether you had to have a certain board score. I don't recall what it was, but once I had that, I was able to provide that score to them, and that eventually opened up a lot of doors. But as far as the barriers for the test itself, I think that's probably about the same as any other student. It's preparation and being ready for it.
Yeah, that's coming back to block 9 and 10, and using all the resources that we have to help you prepare satisfactorily, because it is, as you said, a really important exam. So, well, you did that, and you did your rotations, and you mastered the exam. So what, after that, you were able to complete all your rotations and then enter the National Resident Match Program. And do you maybe want to share with us a little bit what that was like for you, and your strategy for how you applied and got into
Yeah,
it.
my strategy was, and if it looks like I'm leaning in, it's because the sound on my cell phone isn't very loud. My strategy was really, and I'm fortunate that I, practiced and lived in a state that's concentrated with residency opportunities. So basically, I applied to the IM and family medicine programs that were, within about an hour of where I lived. And fortunately, there were, I think, 4 FM programs within an hour, and there were, offhand, not even including New York City, which I'm pretty close to, but even excluding New York City, I mean, I'm probably a dozen or so that were probably within an hour. So that's where I focused my efforts. And the reason why I chose family medicine was just because I had an orthopedic background as a physician assistant. I thought that kind of the path of least resistance for getting a career was for me to do a lot of the same things that I was doing beforehand. And family medicine has the road to doing primary care sports medicine. And a lot of that's very similar to what I did in the past. So, when it came down to ranking programs, I mean, it was a tough decision, but at the very end, I mean, when I say the very end, I mean, my wife went away on vacation. We had a plan, or actually we were both away on vacation. I came back early, and we had a plan. I was going to rank this one program, which is an IM program, first, followed by a couple other IM programs. And then she and my son were, I went back early to go back to my rotations. At the very last second, I flipped the coin and I went with the FM program. I ranked them one. And I think it was probably the right decision because, that really was probably the proper pathway for me to get into primary care sports medicine, which is what I'm doing right now. So I don't know if you have any more questions about that. A lot of mine was just based on geography and, fit. The place that was probably going to be my number one pick, which my wife and I determined was going to be my number one pick, was the hospital where I'd done, I'm guessing, 30 to 50 weeks of clinical rotations. I did internal medicine there, and I did most of my electives there. So they were familiar with me, and I know that they told me a lot of positive things. And it made sense. It was only 20 minutes from where we lived. I guess you kind of get used to what you're familiar with. And the hospital that I ended up choosing was from my hometown. So, I didn't go around and shotgun the country. It was really a concentrated effort into an area, that I didn't want to leave. It wasn't practical for me to leave the area. My wife had a job, and our family was in the area.
Yep. So that's good to summarize that, if you focus on where you want to go and where you want to be and you focus your attention there, particularly if you've done the rotations as well, it'll help you get to the right place where you want to go. So thanks for sharing that. We'll keep working through it. So we've got just a quick overview for anyone not looking to practice in the US, like our guest speakers. If you are from Canada, I've just listed the steps there for entering into the healthcare system there. It's pretty straightforward. You register and you sit your exams and do an internship. The website is listed there for you to read this a little bit more in detail, but IUHS is recognised in Canada, and you can sit your Medical Council of Canada exams. Now, we've mentioned it a few times, the IUHS Study Centre, which is our distributed online campus system, or DOCS, which is a custom designed platform for students to use. Basically, this is like the command center or the virtual university. You can take this anywhere you go because it's accessed via the internet, and you just need a connection and your computer. Within the study center, there's a few screenshots there for you of what it looks like, but there are interactive learning resources, calendars to keep you on track with things like exam dates, for example, and a whole lot more. But April's probably the expert at the moment who can talk to us about what the study center is, what's in there, how do you use it in your daily studies.
Yes, it is definitely the command center, and it's a virtual area where you will find all of the resources that you need, which include Lecturio. Lecturio is full of instructional videos on subject matter. You can find USMLE board questions, spaced repetition questions, and these are questions that are asked after you finish a portion or whole video that test you on content knowledge. You also have course information and access to all of the online textbooks. You have plenty of reading material to supplement the lectures. One of the things that I like is that you can go to your university Gmail and you can access the calendar, and you can find all the same information. One of the biggies in the study center is also DXR, which I mentioned earlier. It gives you a real simulation with a patient, and you not only have a chance to come up with the right diagnoses, differential diagnoses, but you will be tested on how efficient your overall patient delivery of care and management of the patient in totality. You'll be tested on all of that. You will also find exams in the study center, exam links. And so you will have practice, and then of course at the end of the term you'll have your final exam. And we're using right now we're using ProctorU for that, but you will definitely be emailed on that information. So everything you need, all of your resources are in the study center. It is the go-to command center.
Yes, so with all the technology, I might just throw another question at you. What if you're not really that tech savvy? What is it like to learn how to use all of the resources? I mean, you mentioned the DXR, the patient simulation. We've got Lecturio and so many other things in there. Like, if you're not really that tech savvy, what do you think, April? Can you do it? Can you learn it?
You can do it. I will say that I was a little bit afraid. I mentioned DXR. I was a little bit afraid because there were so many components. But then there are instructional videos that you can listen to. There are sessions that you can attend. There's tech support that you have all of the personnel available to you to help you with any part of it. And everyone has been so helpful. I was able to get through everything just by watching the instructional videos and then going over the supplementary material that I downloaded to kind of help guide me through it. But once I practiced a few times, it started to make sense. I'm starting to love DXR. I didn't think that I would. It was so challenging. It challenged my thought processes. Coming from nursing, I had this concept of how to go through the treatment process. It's different. It's parallel, but it requires more in-depth thinking, and I am getting there.
Yeah, that's a good point, because we do have a lot of allied health and nurses and health professionals joining us, wanting to move forward and become physicians. But it is a new challenge, isn't it? And it's a new depth of learning. But your background provides you an excellent foundation for moving forward, from what I understand. So just a moment. I've just got Jenny has her hand up, but Jenny, we'll take some questions at the end. So just hold on to that question as we just work through the last bit of information.
Okay, thank you.
So just to recap, once you're in the study center, your virtual university, you have video libraries. The patient simulation software, the virtual library, you actually don't need to purchase any textbooks. We have all the digital copies for you in there, which, you know, some of them are super expensive. So that's an amazing saving for you there, right up. Question banks to test your knowledge. We do give you a detailed onboarding process for all of this. And as we said, your calendars are in there, your plan of study. So you actually go in block by block, and you'll see right away as you start a new block of study, everything that you need to have done by what date, what you need to read. Like, it's very self-explanatory, so that even if you can't attend a live lecture, if you've missed it, or you want to go back and watch the recording of that, all of those recorded videos are in there if you can't attend a live. And everything is really listed out for you very simply. And then we even have all the calendars where you can actually access your staff members and book in one-on-one time if you need any extra assistance. So truly, it is everything, and there really isn't a lot more that you should be spending money on, or most of our students don't, on too many other resources, because everything is provided for you. And with that, just to discuss our technology one more time, we were recognised in an international awards ceremony last year. It's a photo there of our Dean, Dr. Andrew Merry, who flew to Dubai to accept the award. We won the Award of Excellence for Digital Transformation, delivering our medical education through technology. And that was a great honor for us, because it's not just us talking about how we've developed all this technology to deliver medical education. It's actually been recognized internationally. So that's a huge honor for us. Now, we did mention that we're quite affordable. It comes up a lot as one of the main reasons, well, the top reasons that someone chooses IUHS, not just the flexibility and the ability to commit to maintain all your other commitments, is the cost. The costs are written here, just broken down for you. The preclinical years, all up, cost around $1,400 per month. That our monthly payment plan is actually our most common method that people choose to pay for their program. Then the clinical medicine years are slightly less, so about $825 per month. With that, there is also a technology fee to pay in all of the years of study. And the only thing I haven't been able to quote you on here is the hospital fees for doing your clinical rotations, because each hospital is setting their own fees, and we just pass that on to you. We don't make any money off it. So we tell students as a general guide, think maybe about 400 or 500 US a week might be a reasonable expectation, although we do have other students who are paying less as well. So that's just something that we'll have to keep it in mind, but it's not included in the fees that are listed there. These are just the tuition fees that are paid to the university. Now, we did talk about the pre-med year. If you're needing to do that year of the foundation sciences, it's $6,050 US plus $350 per month of study. It is intended to be a 12-month program, but if you take some extra time, then you just pay those months of study that you are needing to spend extra on the program. Now, if you're already thinking that you might want to apply to IUHS, you can just scan the QR code on the screen there and head to our online application. The online application is the actual first step that you need to take to apply. So what you'll need to do is upload the documents that we've listed there on the screen. We need letters of recommendation, 2 of them from physicians as well. and your ID and a personal statement, as we've listed there. What happens after you've handed everything in to us via the online application? You will then be contacted fairly quickly within, usually it's about 2 weeks, with a reply from the admissions committee. They all do need to have a look at all of your transcripts and everything that you've uploaded. If you've missed something, we will be in touch and we'll let you know that we need some more information. But the process is very, very quick, and you can start in September and May of any year. We are always taking applications as well, so there's no specific deadline to have your application in. We take them all year round. Now, April, you're the one that's most recently gone through this process. Do you want to let us know from your personal experience what the application is like?
It was straightforward for me. I basically went to the university website at www.iuhs.edu. There was a little circle. I clicked apply and proceeded to the application. And after you do that, you will see a list of all of the documentation that you'll need for admissions. You will probably interact with Paige Stewart during admissions, John Walton with financial matters, and of course tech support for any technicalities, issues that you may have. From there, admissions will keep you posted with whatever documentation still needs to be turned in. Think in terms of transcripts, letters of recommendation. From what I remember, my recommenders were able to complete that online. So is that still?
That's correct.
Yes. And I would say the turnaround time is pretty quick. I had to give myself a few weeks because I had to send for transcripts, of course, make sure that my resume was up to par, and also have a personal statement. And from there, it goes really, it's straightforward.
Excellent. And yeah, after that, once you're accepted, then you will move to speaking to student services and tech support and getting set up with all your logins and email addresses and get set up as a student. So it doesn't take long, and so if you're still gathering documentation and classes are starting halfway through September, it's okay. We can still get you there. It isn't that long of a lengthy process. So thank you. Now, for attending today, if you are applying, and we do need you to pay a $150 application fee when you do that online application. For attending today, if you're admitted and accepted and enrolled into IUHS, we will credit that $150 back to you onto your IUHS tuition fee account in appreciation of your attendance today. So don't forget to tell us that when you're applying. Now we'll just go through one more time why choose IUHS over a traditional school. So we've got that cost of living and no moving and having the university come to you as a huge advantage over a traditional school. We have the award-winning technology, a supportive team, as we said, available all the time, right from the dean all the way through to all of your support staff. Top class professors, they're all teaching at top tier universities. Most of them are based in North America, so you've got the same type of education that anybody else has in the US. Highly affordable, as we just demonstrated, probably only about 40% of the cost of another private medical university. So not going into debt for your medical education is the way to go. We have the flexible schedule, as mentioned before. If you want the preclinical years extended out to 3 years rather than 2, that's possible. If life happens and you need to take a pause, or you need extra time, or even down to scheduling exams and saying, look, I'm not ready, I need another week. All of that is possible at IUHS. Our goal is to get you to finish your medical studies and become a physician, and the way to do that is to help you maintain all of your other commitments too. As we said, we start in September and May, so you can meet with us in the meantime. We'd love to hear from you. If you have other questions, you can drop us a line. If you'd like to have an admissions consultation, let us know so we can get in touch with you and discuss everything about your personal situation and help you get prepared for starting your medical studies. And of course, we'd love for you to follow us. Instagram, Facebook, we are always posting our intake dates and any other events that we're having, so stay in touch. YouTube, we've got some student videos and some testimonials and things like that, so head to YouTube as well. That brings us to the end of our presentation. No, that's a lot of information, but I'm just going to check if we have any questions. We just have one at the moment. What is the cost for Arizona? Justin, are you still with us? Do you know the cost of your rotations?
I know that there is some variations between states. Here in Texas, our rotation cost is $450 a week. I know that the Beckley, West Virginia location, I think, is like 300. But again, don't quote me on those numbers. I'm not 100% sure, but I do know Beckley is a little bit cheaper than here in San Antonio.
Yep. Hello.
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 Hi.
Have you got a question for us?
Yes, hi. I was just wondering about ECFMG.
Yes.
Yes, the school is not currently listed in the 2024 ECFMG. So is there any issues going on with that? Are we going to be able to get approval from ECFMG after we get done?
Yep, all of our students, we're listed there as current. I can send a link in the follow-up, maybe to all of the attendees and participants to the webinar. Maybe I'll send that in the email. As long as our school is listed there as we are and we are current, it means that you can apply and you will be able to sit that exam. We are doing additional accreditations at the moment, but for the current moment, there is absolutely no restriction on IUHS. So, but I will send you that in the follow-up email to this meeting. So thanks for that question. I will let you know a little bit more in detail there.
Thank you.
That's okay. We have a question. Can you set up your own clinical site? If you have your own affiliations, you might already have be working in a hospital. We have a clinical director that works at IUHS. We are able to put you in touch with him, and he will work with you to check that it is an approved teaching hospital. And yes, by all means, if you have your own site, as long as it's approved, yes, you can go there and we can do those one-off affiliations for you. What else? Transfer students from another medical school. Yes, we accept transfer students. The process is on our website, but it's much the same as applying. You have to collect all your documentation and upload it, but it is good to also contact us at admissions@iuhs.edu as well about your specific situation when you're transferring in. We have a question about our match rate. Well, as I said, international university, so not all of our students enter the match because they're in other countries. In last year's match, we had, I think it was, this year's, I'm sorry, it was in March. We had about 10 go into the match at that time, and 9 got their placement first go. So we have a very good match rate. It tends to be fairly consistent, but as I said, we don't have thousands of students. So our numbers are quite small, but those small numbers are very encouraging because a lot of our students get first round offers. So let me just, questions are coming through. Affiliated hospital in California, Modesto is the location of the Californian hospital. With the fees for for doing the preclinical years over 3 years, there is a variation in the fees, Ibrahim, but nothing too significant. If I recall, I would have to ask for the exact breakdown. I don't have it in front of me, but Ibrahim, you could also email me info@iuhs.edu. Just remind me so I don't forget. I'll just put it in the chat that you want the tuition for 3 years. Good Boy is asking, what did he mean by the cost of clinical rotation? That means you have to pay the hospital for teaching you. Each hospital sets their own fee for that. I don't know if there's anything else. The hospital in Chicago, I don't have the name in front of me. I have just the city. So Mariam, if you want to send me your question at info@IUHS so I can get back to you with the answer once I speak to the clinical director, that would be great because I don't have the list here with me. Tess is asking, Dina is asking that we have an address in Manitoba. Yes, our administration office is in Manitoba, Canada. The Canadian hospitals, I don't have the list for those either because I'm the marketing director, but I will get them for you. So Dina, please shoot me an email so I can find out for you where they are. Hospitals in the UK, Tess is asking about, we have 2 sites there around London. So we could help you with that too. We've just had a recent graduate from the UK. So we can help you with that as well. That's she did pass and is licensed by the GMC, and she also did STEP. So it is possible. What else have we got here? Tatiana is asking about the I-20 to international students who do clinical studies in the US to get an F1 visa. Again, please, Tatiana, drop me this in an email. I need to find out about this. There is one of our staff members that's very good with the regulatory and visa side of things. So please don't let me forget that you'd like to know a little bit more about that, and I'll put you in touch or I'll get you the answer for that, because there's a lot that's involved in that for where you're coming from, and there's just too much to go through there here at the end of the webinar. So I'll get you a more personalized answer. I'm based in the UK, says Ibrahim. I can do the clinical years free of charge in the UK. Are the fees for years 3 and 4 still payable to IUHS? Yes, the fees that are listed in today's webinar are the fees that you are paying to IUHS directly for your education. The hospital fees are a separate cost that I don't quote on this presentation because they are not set, even as Justin said, they vary. So that's two separate things. Can you do clinicals in New York? I believe we only have 1 or 2 rotations that you can do in New York. It's quite limited. So the places, the states that I listed for clinical rotations are where you can do all of them, and we have good relationships in those states, so it would be better and always more recommended to do all your clinicals in one place. Ibrahim, I don't have the names of the hospitals in front of me. I'll have to get back to you with that because I have them in my information. So as I said, just drop me a line with these specific questions for the names and visas and things like that, because I haven't got all of that right now, and they're quite specific questions. Mariam, I'll have a look at the application fee for you. I'll reply to you about that. In Georgia, Gabor is asking about clinical sites. We have one-off affiliations. We've had students in the state of Georgia, but we'd have to have a look at where they were with the clinical director and get back to you. They're not as strong affiliated sites as we have in the other states. So it would be something that we would look at where we had students before, and then sort of advise you whether you can go there or not, and work with you on your specific requests. Tatiana, I will send a recording of this presentation to all of you after this session is over. So probably won't send the slide deck, but I'll send you the video. Keisha has a question. What is the denominator of the match rate?
Yeah, so can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Thank you. Yeah, please elaborate on
Yeah, so
your question.
my question is, I know your cohort's small, so
Yes.
and you said that not any given, whether it be September or May, let's say you have 20 people that come that start in September, and you know, how many of those people actually enter at some point after their 2 years into the match program
Yeah,
or decide to enter,
yeah, this
regardless
is
of the outcome.
yeah, no, that's okay. Look, with IUHS, we have that flexibility of program, which means we're not forcing people to stick to hard dates and deadlines with the length of time that they take to complete their program. So though we might have 40, 50, 30 students at any, intake, it doesn't all mean that they're from the US. B, some of them use it to leverage another career that they're already in. And for example, we've got people who have MBAs, but they're running hospitals. So they want to be, make sure their medical degree and their MBA are taking them in that direction, and they're not going into clinical medicine. Some are professors or research professionals. So once we take all of that out, and then we consider all the people that are actually, they're not all finishing at the same time. They're taking their own time and they're doing the program at their own pace. Some people have taken 10 years to complete what's intended to be a 4-year degree. So it's a moving target. It's hard for us to even quantify it, I think, in the way that might make sense to you. But as I said, it's for those that are wanting to practice clinical medicine and are in the US. We're very happy with our results, with where our students are, and I think that sometimes that's testament to their performance on clinical rotations, the time that they spent in a mentorship, gaining clinical experience prior to their rotations. It just gives them the advantage, the confidence in the workplace, and once you're in that, you're in the networking, and you're bound to find opportunities and programs, as Justin did. And we've had a few of those comments. I've just had students tell me a few times in the last few weeks that they've had the same situation. So yes, I haven't got a number or a fraction for you there.
Wendy, if I can
really,
kind of
yeah,
piggyback off of you.
please.
Yeah, so as she was saying, I came in as a transfer student. I came in with a group of individuals. And again, because of that flexibility, I had to have a couple of pauses in between my course. And I actually am now finally caught up. But because I finally caught up, some of the other individuals have graduated. And so this past match, if I'm not mistaken, I think there were 4 that applied. And I think out of the 4, all 4 of them matched. But it's really hard to pinpoint it because those people that applied to the match all came from different cohorts because of everybody's pausing and the progression that they made. So
That's right.
Next a
And
question.
got it. And just one last question before I move on. So sorry to dominate. And this might be for Justin or for Dr. Sage. My husband, he's done the traditional route, going to a U.S. Medical school, and so he's a little hesitant about me going to an international medical school. He's been in, he does a lot of things at the, at the hospital that he works at, and he's been on an admission board. So what would I tell him, in terms of, or what might I share with him, that not necessarily convince him, but make him feel more comfortable with me going to an international medical school?
yeah, so I actually just had this debate not too long ago with another individual. What makes a brick and mortar school stand out versus me studying harder for what I have versus what you had? And that was my argument to this individual. I came from another international school as well before I'm here. Um, One thing that I have seen in my tenure of education is that a lot of the brick and mortar schools, they hand feed the student. They get to do rotations in their hospital. Most of those students match within that same hospital facility. Everything is given to them. And what stands out for an international student is we truly have worked hard to get to where we are. So my passing score on the USLME is a passing score. It doesn't matter what school I went to, I still passed the same step that on board or that US student took. I still took the step, I still passed, and that's all that matters. Yes, there are some residency programs that frown upon international students. Yes, there are some residency programs that, make it challenging, but at the end of the day, as an international student, when we've taken the step and we passed, we still passed. We're still the same doctor that the US based are. And there's no difference other than online versus in person. There's no difference in the education.
That's a good point. Thank you. Thank you. I think the last question here before we just wrap up that came through was Jenny's question about a list of where all the students matched in the last 7 years. I'm not sure about that. Are you there, Jenny? Do you want to elaborate on that question?
Yes, I was just looking and trying to get information. I see online they show like a map, but there's no places specifically. So I was wondering, were there specific places in particular that people matched in? Do you have a list of where they matched at? What specialty? What state?
We have a variety of those. I don't have them in front of me, but I do know a few offhand. Family medicine is a popular one, though we do have everything in between from neurology to cardiology and a variety of states too. That could be Florida, quite a few states. They're spread out, our students. They're not all concentrated. Yeah, so I mean, we could probably have this conversation a little more detail. If you want to drop me an email, I could gather up some more information. But yeah, generally we have a wide spread of students in a wide variety of locations at the moment.
Okay, and then I just had a couple more questions. Is there a handbook? Because I was trying to locate it online to get a little bit more information about the program itself and see how the classes, the grading, and all of that is set up, but I wasn't able to locate that on the website.
Yep, that's something that will happen as you're going through the admissions process. You'll be sent the handbook. So yep, that will be made available to you for you to read and understand. And so yeah, that's we have it, but it's not there for download. So you can get that access to that later.
Okay, and then I know that Justin stated that there are clinical rotations in Texas. Is it just San Antonio or is it all over Texas?
I can't answer that. Once you get into the clinical rotation phase, Clark is really your point of contact, and he has all of that information. I came from Kentucky originally. My hometown had a tornado. And so when I was in conversation with Clark, he had mentioned San Antonio. I took it. That was the first place that I took. So I really can't answer that for you.
I believe it. I
Okay.
believe it is our major center for that state is San Antonio. So I don't think there are multiple cities unless it's a one-off arrangement. So again, the list isn't in front of me because that's as we said, we have a clinical director. His name is Clark, who helps you with this. But I believe Justin's right. He's in the main city, San Antonio, where we have most of them available, and you can do them all in one location without moving around. That's something that can happen. Yeah.
Okay, and then I know others have questions, but one burning question. I know that you said that you can spread it out over 3 years, but what if you just dedicated, stopped working, and you actually just wanted to focus on the first 2 years or the entire program itself? Are you able to complete the preclinical years prior to 2 years, or do you have to sit for every single portion of it within that time period? Like you have to wait and complete it the max 8 weeks each term. Do you kind of get what I'm saying?
Are you asking, can it be done faster?
Yes. Yep.
No, we can't speed up the program. You have to go through all of the blocks as they've been set up and all of the weeks of the clinical hospital training as they're set up. You'll find that's a regulatory as well consideration. If you go to license somewhere and you've tried to do a program that's shorter, they will question how could you have done that. So you have to follow the program and not try and cut corners, and we wouldn't let you. So it's not in your interest to. But studying is, I think we were talking about this earlier with some students, the expectation is really quite intense. It's at least a 30-hour a week study in those preclinical years. So the amount you work, like Dr. Sage mentioned, often is advantageous to work less or not at all, if you can. I think that answers your question.
Okay. Yes. Thanks, Wendy.
Okay. I think we might have gotten to the end of questions, but if we did miss anything or I did ask you to email me and you want to get some further clarification on your specific question to your specific situation, please, as I said, drop me a line at info@iuhs.edu. If I didn't have the list or something in front of me today, please drop me a line so I can answer you directly. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for your patience. It has gone a little bit over time. I hope you all have a wonderful evening. You will all be sent this presentation in your email as well, so look out for it in your inbox. Thank you again. Thanks to all our speakers for all your insights. Thank you, April, Dr. Sage, and Justin. You're wonderful. Yeah, we'll hope to see you again and applying, and stay in touch. Bye, everyone.
All right, have a great one.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.